There's much about Easter in the Easter stories that we read throughout the Gospels that each year I think that we hear them, even though we've heard them before, still might catch us by surprise. And in this story this year from John's Gospel, the character of Mary Magdalene is an incredible one to contemplate. And I encourage you today and throughout this next week, reread the passion stories of Jesus. Come to our gospel lesson today in John 20 and read it from a different person's perspective. Put yourself in the shoes of Peter. Even put yourselves in the shoes of Judas. But especially put yourself in the shoes of Mary Magdalene. And sit with how surprising, but so how absolutely incredible she is. Some of the things that we heard she did in our gospel lesson today, she's the first one. It's recorded going to the tomb. In verse 2, she says, they have taken the Lord out of the tomb. That Mary's concern was, regardless the cost, she wanted to care for Jesus. She's the first that saw the angels. In verse 13, she says again, they have taken away my Lord. In verse 15, we learn she's the first to actually see Jesus. And I don't understand this, but somehow she doesn't recognize him at first. But John's gospel doesn't explain that for us. But she's the first to see Jesus and says, Sir, if you have taken him away, tell me where you have laid him, and I will take him away. And she will sacrifice what she has to care for her Lord. Not only is she the first to see Jesus, she's the first that finally recognizes Jesus. In verse 16, when she says, Rabboni. And then thinking about Mary, that culture, in that context, in the history of the Christian church, she's the very first person to witness to the resurrection of Jesus. In verse 18, she goes back to the disciples, those that are still locked away, and she says, I have seen the Lord. What sounds to be a very simple statement, but a powerful one for what it might mean just to make a witness to Jesus. So this Easter Day every year is not intended to leave us the same. It's not that we just come in and find a seat because that seems to be what you should do on Easter Day. But the events of what we celebrate today are the very events that have changed the world and should change each of us. So for where you sit right now, think about, why are you here? Why are you sitting right where you are? And I encourage you to go through these gospel stories. Which character this year, right now, do you might find yourself relating to? I find at different times in my life, depending on what goes on, there's a different character from time to time throughout the scriptures that I find myself relating to. Where you are right now today, which character do you find familiar? And when our celebration today is completed, when we celebrate Holy Communion together and it's time to declare the dismissal, and as part of the dismissal, declaring those words, Alleluia, Alleluia, things we've not done for several weeks. When we leave this place, what should we do? Well, in following Mary Magdalene's example, I think we do just what she did. We make a witness to Jesus. Wherever we find ourselves, for her, it was going back to the apostles. For us, for you, it might be wherever you are in life, but what does it look like and mean for you to make a witness to Jesus? And keep clear in your mind what that is and what it's not. To make a witness to Jesus is to say something similar to Mary, I have seen the Lord. It is not our task to have to convert somebody, to coerce somebody, to think that it's up to us to change somebody. The conversion and the changing of someone's life is a task only God can do. Our role, our participation comes in simply making a witness. I have seen the Lord. So think about encountering somebody. And what does it mean for you just to talk about Jesus? Why is Jesus important in your life? What has Jesus done for you? Why has Jesus so come to be a part of your life that the very rhythms of your life reveal coming to church to be an important thing? Prayer, kindness, generosity. That Jesus has so embedded into your life that the rhythms of your life change. So to be able to talk with somebody, why Jesus is important to you. And like Mary's words, I have seen the Lord. That's what making a witness entails. And the fun thing can be that when we are faithful just to make a witness, we get to participate and watch then God changing not only our lives, but those in our world. So be like Mary. Just stand up and tell somebody, I have seen Jesus.